Hello, and welcome to M&A Access, the official podcast for the Alliance of M&A Advisors. My name is Gina Galusha, and I'm the Executive Director of AMA. And today we've got a great podcast for you about how culture can bring companies up into the right. People problems can tank ROI, but the reverse is also true. When you have a company full of people who understand the mission and are invested in understand their expectations and are ready to exceed them, then great things happen. Leah Rolling from Leah Rolling Coaching provides a simple framework for building a culture of productivity through accountability and agreement. She presented this talk at the Women of AMA luncheon, but don't let the beginning deceive you. This talk is for anyone who holds a leadership position. Be ready to take notes.
It is so amazing to be here. I live in Iowa, so not very far from here, but Chicago is one of both my husband, who is also my travel agent, and I's very favorite places to go. So I'm thrilled to be here. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of culture as strategy, I'd like to ask you, if you feel comfortable doing so, to maybe close your eyes and place your feet on the floor. And I'd like you to take a big, deep breath in. And as you breathe in, I want you to remember back to a time when it was just you and your idea. Just you and the inspiration that only you can bring out and into the world. A time before SOPs, funnels, ads, payrolls, AI, hiring, firing, drama. And if you can tap in to the energy, the enthusiasm of that impact, of that opportunity, of that inspiration, and to the extent that you can you embody it and capture it in your head and your heart? And once that's locked in, I'll invite you to open your eyes with a smile. There's all my beautiful smiles. Yeah. So the work that I do and the research that supports it suggests that those smiles are stolen. Those smiles are stolen by a number of factors. Can anybody throw out some factors that might rob you of your joy? What's that? Stress. What else? What causes stress? Kids. Girl, do I know? What else causes stress? Men. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun time. What else causes stress? Distractions. What do men and children all have in common? They're both kids. I love you. Yes, they're both kids and they're people. The leaders that I get to work with offer up to me that the biggest reason why they can't build and they can't scale their businesses is because of people. More importantly, people problems. Yes? Would we all agree? Yes? Yes? They're kind of raising their hand. So, with that in mind, I want to completely flip that around for you, because this is what I know is true. If we have people problems, we're screwed, right? Yes? We're screwed because last time I checked, people are very hard to control. They're free agents. They're autonomous. They didn't wake up today, or at least most of them didn't, hoping that someone would tell them what to do. They didn't wake up thinking that they want to be managed or fixed. So where people we have little to zero control over, we have 100% control over our culture. Yes? So anytime you want to blame the people, which we will want to do because we're humans and we're going to want to blame our children and our husbands and for all of our stress, whenever you want to go there, I would like you to remember this conversation and think about it as a culture opportunity. No more, forever and ever, do we have people problems. Why? Because I want you to win in your life. We have a culture opportunity. And I want to show with you a formula today in order to maximize that opportunity. Does that sound good? Yes? Okay, so if you're a note taker, like I am, if not, I'm going to write it on here. So if you want to take a picture afterwards, I want you to write on your sheet of paper. And if you can't see it in the back, I will read it out. It's a bigger marker. Leaders. And then an arrow down. And then I want you to write culture. And then another arrow down. And then I would like you to write behaviors. And then results. And the last little bit is value or valuation, whatever you want to put. So this is the formula that we're going to talk through today, yeah? So let's start with leaders. If you're in this room, if you're sitting in a chair, you're a leader. Yes? You lead something, right? You lead, whether it's a team of 1, a team of 500, or a team of you. Whether you lead a movement or a family, you're a leader. You're a leader. And as a leader, you've got 2 jobs. I like to make my stuff really simple. Because in a world of distractions, we need simplicity, yes? You have 2 jobs. The first of which is to summon the best of who you are. Yeah? That's a conversation that's way longer than a half an hour. Yeah? But the second responsibility that we have as a leader is to summon the promise of our business, to be the steward of the promise of our business. When I go to organizations, they generally have this beautiful mission statement. It's multiple sentences long, paragraphs long. And the thing of it that matters is that it doesn't outline the promise that you captured when I asked you to close your eyes. It's that one sentence that speaks to why it is that your business exists. If your business had a voice, what would it say it's here to do? So the mission has lots of little paragraphs around how we create results for the promise, but the promise gets very blurry in that mission. So that promise that's powerfully defined becomes your North Star. It becomes your litmus test for every single decision you make, every hire, every fire, every conversation. And that promise then becomes the boss of your business. You no longer have to be the boss. You can deflect everything to the promise. Sorry, promise. Did you read it? Do you know what it is? So that promise is yours to lead. And as leaders, you lead the culture. Now, again, because I like to keep things simple and because I don't have a lot of time, culture informs behavior by way of 2 tools. Okay? First, we have agreements, and second, we have alignment. So let's talk about agreements first. I love the idea of agreements because they're different than values. Again, most of us understand the importance of values, right? I go into organizations, they're on the wall, they're framed, and yet they're static. In this new workforce, where we've got multiple generations of workers, I love agreements because they're dynamic. They're relational. They fit the ecosystem that we actually have to lead in. And agreements are not foreign concepts, right? We all know, whether you're 18 or 80, we know what agreement is. If me and you, we're going to meet tomorrow for coffee at 7, I'd like that. Would you? Yes, that's an agreement. Yes? Now, if I don't show up at 7, and if she doesn't show up at 7, there's a level of expectancy. So if either of us don't show up, neither of us are going to be blindsided when we were like, hey, what gives? I thought we made an agreement to have coffee. I was there, you weren't. And they can object to it, and they can give you all the reasons in the world, but agreements are based in facts, and they're based in integrity. And I believe that the workforce lacks that right now because there's not enough leaders that have a strong enough promise that hold people accountable. Your job as the steward of the promise is to account for the ability of the people that create results for your business. And a lot of people are like, I'm kind of wishy-washy on accountability because I don't want to upset anybody, right? I don't want to make anybody mad. I don't want anybody to leave. But here's the thing. Accountability is the kindest thing. It is the kindest thing. Because if I'm going to account for your ability, it means that I have a belief in it. It means that I see the potential in you. Yeah. And I want to raise and elevate that potential. High performers want to be held accountable. They want a framework to win. This is the framework to win. It reveals the low performers and it highlights the high performers. Regardless of where you're at in your business and whether you employ people or work for people that employ people, whatever it is, we want self-led A+ high performers on our team. And these are the frameworks that we get to do that. So those are agreements. Super, super important to have. And then we have alignment. Alignment is just ensuring that we have the right bets in the right seats. Yes, again, many times I go into organizations and I ask to see roles, responsibilities, and I ask to see who the people are. And they will tell me, well, we're not really sure about this person. This person's kind of doing this and they're kind of doing this. And I'm like, why? Why are they kind of doing this and kind of doing that? Because that only sets you up for stress and frustration. It sets them up for stress and frustration. So having the right seats matters. And I love to use a tool called Predictive Index. Has anybody heard of Predictive Index? I have lots of different certifications in all the different assessment tools because I'm kind of an assessment junkie. But I love PI because it's a behavioral assessment tool that assesses behavior at work. Behavior at work. And it matches the DNA of the human to the responsibility of the role. So there's no more guesswork. You don't have to be like, I wonder if they're going to be a good fit. They really interviewed well, but I'm not sure who showed up on Monday. Yes? Does anybody have that in their organizations or just me? Yes. So alignment is so important. These two tools inform behaviors. And before we talk about what people do and what people don't do by way of behaviors in your organizations, I really want to have a clear differentiation between roles, responsibilities, and goals, and people. Too often, we blur the lines. Roles, responsibilities, and goals, they are your assets. They're yours. They belong to the promise of the business. I'm guessing when I asked you to shut your eyes, no one envisioned a time when you got to employ people and pay them. Right? No, most people are like, no, that's not what I had in mind. But that is what's required in order to effort the promise. But we have to have clearly identified roles, responsibilities, aka KPIs, goals that are assets, and then we talk about the people. And then we bring in the people. And then we see where they're a good fit, where they're aligned. Do they agree with the agreements? Are they the right profile for what the job is asking them to do? And each role needs to have a result. If the role doesn't have a result, then why are we paying for the role? Do you see how much money and energy is saved by having a strategy around culture? So once we know the roles, the responsibilities, the results of the roles, and the right people, then we get to go to the results. Now, if you don't have the results that you want in your business, if you don't have the results that you want in your family, if you don't have the results that you want with your spouse or significant other, this all works. This is a human formula, not necessarily a business one, although it works in both. If you don't have the results that you want in your life, in your business, in the valuation numbers, you just look up. You just look up. You look up to the behaviors. Do we have clearly defined roles, responsibilities, and goals that are assets to this practice, to this organization, to this business? Do we have clear agreements and alignments in place? And are we stewarding the promise to the very best of our ability? If the answer to that is no, then the next thing that we have is a conversation. Now, second to people, having conversations with people is up there as to why it is that we don't have the success that we want. Who in here loves having difficult conversations? A few of us, yes. Most of us don't love having difficult conversations because we haven't laid a groundwork and the framework for accountability. Because I'm here to share with you that there's no such thing as a difficult conversation. Would any of you like to learn a framework that I use to make every single conversation simple? Yeah? And just two? But this one's for you too. Okay? All right. So if the conversation is not difficult, and I believe that the best conversations spark three things. They spark connection, they spark clarity, and they spark change. Yeah? So when you know that, you get to have a conversation in connection, in clarity, and with some change in mind. Okay? So we're going to use that SPARK as an acronym because I'm a big acronym nerd. Just ask my kids and my husband. So if we're going to spark these simple conversations, we start with the facts. All too often, these conversations are difficult because we're bringing forward our opinions and our labels. And no one woke up to your label of them. No one woke up this morning to your opinion of them. They don't understand your perspective. Guess whose perspective they understand? Theirs. So we state the facts. The facts are, on Tuesday, you said this report would be done by 2. Period. They also don't have to be long, these conversations. So we state the fact. Then we paint the impact. The impact is always going to be twofold. There's going to be an impact on the promise, the impact on the business. Yes? If something doesn't get done, and we have clearly defined roles, responsibilities that create results for the promise, and that responsibility did not get done, it's going to affect the promise.
Okay.
Good to know. Secondly, it's going to impact the integrity of you, team member, that didn't get the project done Tuesday at 2. And that is so important because their integrity matters. It matters to them and it matters to you. Because we want to lead people that do what they say they're going to do. And I know it's important to you because you agreed upon it when we had the agreement conversation. And when you break integrity with yourself, you lose trust with yourself. And when you lose trust with yourself, you lose confidence in yourself. And when you lose confidence in yourself, you lose the ability to find the potential of you. And my job as the leader is to steward, yes, the promise, but to steward the potential of you. And I refuse to let you breach integrity with yourself. That's the impact. You paint it. It's twofold. Yeah? You with me? Then we ask and acknowledge. Ask and acknowledge. Tell me why the report couldn't be done at 2. And then you just let them talk, right? This is the hardest part for us, right? Because we want to make it mean something about us. We want to make it mean that they're disrespectful or they're not a good worker or whatever. And they're going to excuse themselves. They're going to what I call jade. They're going to justify, argue, defend, and explain. They're going to give you all of the reasons why they couldn't have got it done. And we're not going to get upset. The only reason why conversations are typically difficult is because they're upsetting. And that creates a difficult emotion for us. We just let them talk. We just let them talk and we just nod. We're not going to be blindsided that they're going to try to excuse their behavior? Of course they're going to try to excuse their behavior because they know they're in breach of integrity. It's not personal. And you're just going to let them. You're just going to nod your head. Yes? And then we're going to acknowledge with 3 words. You ready for these 3 words? Really simple. I understand and. Yeah? I understand. I understand everything you're saying. Why do we understand? Because they're humans. Humans don't want to be in breach of integrity. Your children, mine too, they don't want to be in breach of integrity. Are they sometimes? Yes. Spouses, they don't want to be in breach of integrity. Are they sometimes? Yes. They're human. They're human. I understand. Can we all understand that people are human? And that from time to time, they're going to mess up? But their mess up doesn't have to make it difficult for us. And when we make it difficult for us, then we make it difficult for the promise. So I understand and. We clarify. I understand and. The promise. I'm a steward of it. The agreements that we made. Right? These are the agreements. These are the roles. These are the responsibilities. I understand and. And then know what the next steps are. The next steps is always going to be a plan. If Susie did not get the report done on Tuesday at 2, it's because either there's a skill gap or a behavioral gap. Yeah? If it's a skill gap, we have competency coaching. Right? We have a competency plan that's going to hopefully bridge that gap between not knowing what to do and doing what now is known. And if it's a behavioral one, we have a coaching plan. And then all that's left for us to determine is a rhythm for feedback. Okay, so in 2 weeks, I'm going to follow back up with you to see how we're doing with this plan. Because I want to see you win. I want to see you win in this role. It's really important. It's important for you. It's important for the role. It's important for the company. It's important for the promise. I want to see you win in this role because when you win in your role, in the work that you do, you have a higher propensity to win at life. You have a higher propensity to win at life. That's the framework. This framework works every single time. No matter what the conversation is, it works. It will always spark connection. It will always spark clarity, and it will always spark change. Does that ensure change? No. No. The change is completely up to the person that either takes ownership and accountability for the change or not. That's not your job. Your job isn't to ensure their change. Your job is to steward the promise. And when we do that, when we have those behavioral conversations here, and when we have the coaching conversations here about competency, it determines the value. It determines the valuation of your business. It determines the value that you work so hard to get. And in that value, it might be financial freedom. It might be time freedom. It might be vacation freedom. But there's something there that you value, because otherwise, what is it all for? What is bringing this promise, this beautiful genius that's uniquely yours into the world for? You work too hard for it to not have it be actualized. Yeah? So, my challenge to you, I was going to say Monday, but this is a group of high achievers. So Monday ain't going to cut it for this girl, okay? My challenge to you before tomorrow morning, is to get really clear on your promise. I'm here to help. I have tools to help with that. But tap back into the energy when we first started today. If your business could talk, if the ambition of you could share a sentence that is embodied that is easy to memorize and that you could practice daily. What would it say it's here to do? And then you take that promise and you practice it on every single person in the room. And if I find you and see you, I'm going to say, hey, what's your promise, girl? I'm going to ask. Because my goal is to find out all y'all's promises. Yes? But then you take it back to the people that you love and that you get to serve and that you get to lead, whether it's your spouses or your children or whomever. See, this is the promise. I have a promise of my life. I have a promise of my business. Get clear on it, you guys. And then agreements. Agreements. If you just do those two things, you will have a very firm strategy for your culture. The agreements. How do I find them? How do I find them? The best way to find them is I want you to think about the people that you get to work with that are flipping unicorns. Like you even say it sometimes. If I could just brand Mary, if everybody could be like Mary, yeah, take all the characteristics of Mary, write them down. And then you have your not so high performers, the ones that create massive amounts of stress and difficulty and sleepless nights. And I won't name this person by name because I don't want to offend anybody in this room, right? If you have like the name Sarah or something, right? Whoever, right? Is anybody's name Sarah? Oh, praise Jesus. Okay, thank you. So if you have a Sarah that perhaps is more low performing, write down all the characteristics of her that make her challenging to lead, right? And then what are your non-negotiables? What are you not willing to tolerate from this day forward? What is the thing that disrupts you stewarding the promise the most? You blend all of those together, you will create an amazing set of agreements for your life. They answer this question. You will love working here if. When you go back and re-offer these agreements to the people that you work with, again, whether it's the people that you house with or the people that you work with, you will love working here if when you hire. You will love working here if you enjoy feedback. You have a high standard of excellence. You enjoy collaboration. And you have high integrity. Those are a few of mine. You will love working here if you love working with high performers that are self-led and that blow their own mind with their own potential. You will love working here. If that is terrifying to you and you're not so thrilled with those agreements, this is not the right fit. This is not the right fit. Okay? So, it's simple, but simple doesn't mean easy, friends. But it's required. It's required. Steward the promise. Reoffer those agreements. To yourself, what are your non-negotiables for you? To your family, what are the agreements of your family? Do they know them? What are the agreements with the people that you work with? Design the seats. Make sure they're in alignment. Otherwise, we just have burnout and disengagement. Measure what matters. Measure what matters. Talk about what's hard. Talk about what's real. And really watch the reality of your results come true. Don't underestimate the ROI of a wickedly powerful promise and a strategic culture. The promise of my business is to ensure the promise of yours. Yes? That's the promise of my business. Your blood, your sweat, your tears, your worry, your stress deserves results. And the frameworks and the formulas exist to deliver them. So I hope you have just an amazing rest of your conference. I hope you get to connect with all of the humans. I hope you get to share your promise with them and invite them to create a promise of their own. And I hope we get to talk either today or tomorrow or whenever our paths meet. So thank you very much for your time, for your attention. It's been a pleasure.
We are so grateful for Leah joining us at Summer Conference this year and sharing how culture really can drive the valuation of a business. Our challenge to you is to pinpoint one step that she shared that you can implement right away to improve the culture of your company. And we'll see you next episode, but until then, go forth and deal make.